Go King!
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the German Muscle channel. So in this video, I'm going to be telling you guys what it was like to experience 9/11 from the Midwest. So no, I wasn't in New York, New Jersey, or anything like that. I lived in Ohio my whole life. I don't know anybody that was killed in the buildings on 9/11, but I remember it like it happened yesterday. So September 11th, 2001 was basically a normal day for me, my family, and all that. Back in the day when kids used to go outside and play all day before cell phones and all that stuff, that was the time to be alive. So every day, me and my brothers would be outside. We actually had an old Ford truck that the previous owner of the house that we lived at left behind, and it was like completely taken apart. Like the cab and the frame and the bed and all that stuff was taken off. And every day we would go out there and mess around with it and like try to act like we're driving it or something like that. And my mom hollers for us, tells us to come inside. We go inside, and she had made lunch, so we was eating lunch and sitting at the kitchen table. And my stepdad at the time, he was in the living room. The house that we used to live in, it no longer stands. It got knocked down right after we moved out, because it actually, one of the rooms collapsed on us when we was living there. So my mom actually called and had it condemned. As soon as you walk in the front door, you walk right into the kitchen, and then the living room is right there to the right, and then the bedrooms and stuff like that. But we were sitting at the kitchen table eating lunch, and I looked over because my stepdad at the time, he was watching NASCAR. And I never really liked NASCAR or anything like that. I still don't. I think it's boring to watch somebody drive around in circles all damn day. That's boring as hell. So I never really got into it. I was always into baseball, like always. When I was a little kid, all the way up, I still am into baseball. But he flipped the TV, and baseball was on. So I looked over and I was watching it. And then he flipped the TV again. And then I was like, what the heck? So I was like, fuck it. Just kept eating lunch. And then next thing you know, I'm hearing a plane flew into the building. And I looked over, I'm like, what the heck? Like, did I just hear that right? And then on the news, I remember two brown buildings. I don't know if that was the actual color of the buildings, but back in the day, the TV that we had, it was like a little, like, the old TVs from the early 2000s. Everybody knows that. But it showed that the buildings were brown. So that's what I remember is two brown buildings completely like smoked out. It looked like a cigarette, like the end of a cigarette or whatever. So he changes the channel, and like I thought it was a movie at first. I did not think it was real at all. And he changes the channel, and the same thing is on a different channel. So I'm like, okay, this has got to be real, because usually when somebody puts a movie in, they leave the movie on and they watch it. Like back in the day, you was not allowed to talk or anything during a movie, or you would get told to go in another room. So we all just stop eating and we're watching TV. And my mom goes over there, goes over to the doorway, and she's looking at the TV. And she looks at my stepdad and she's like, is that the news? And he says, yeah. They just started freaking out because they didn't know if like everything else is going to blow up or not. And we go over, sit in front of the TV, and all I remember seeing is the buildings are completely smoked out, and next thing you know, they start to crumble, and then you see another plane go right into the other building. And at the time, I still thought it was a movie. Like, I knew that it was real from them saying it was on the news. But when you're that young, you don't really, like, think of anything like important or anything like that. But at that time, I knew something bad was happening, because every time that my stepdad would flip the station, because they didn't want us watching that. My mom or my stepdad did not want us watching that. They was just trying to flip the channel so that way something else would come on, and then we would watch that, so that way we didn't see a national tragedy on TV. But like I said, every time that he would flip the station, it would be on the same channel. Every channel was airing 9/11. And eventually he turned the VCR on, and there was a movie in it, and he flipped the channel. I remember he flipped the channel and he said, well, we'll see what's on this channel. And then a movie started playing. Then my brother walks over and he says, I want to know what the heck was going on. What was that? What was that? He was starting to freak out a little bit. My oldest brother, I can't remember how old he was. He was probably about like 13 or 14 at the time. I can't remember. But he went over and unplugged the VCR. And at the time, my stepdad was mean as shit. Like, this dude used to throw boots at us and shit all the time. Like, my oldest brother had like a big ass purple welt on his back from a steel toe boot. And my brother went over and unplugged the VCR, and it turned back on the news. Then when the news came back on, all you seen was the buildings just completely fall to the ground, and there was a shit ton of smoke, and everybody was freaking out. And then next thing you know, the Octagon got hit, and that was on the news as well. And then everybody at that time, like, the news like quit showing it, and then we all just went back outside, because we didn't know, like I said, we was too young to know if it was real or not. So we all went back outside and started playing. And next thing you know, there was cops everywhere. There's everybody that lived in that small town that I lived in. They was all outside. Everybody was freaking out. There was people running up and down the road crying and shit. Like, nobody knew what the heck was going on. And at that point, I thought that we was in a war zone. Like, because all the games that we used to play as kids, they was all either zombie games or fucking World War II games and shit like that. And we just thought that we was in a battlefield or something. Like, we didn't know. We felt that it was real at that time. So we went back in the house, and we asked, even though we seen it on TV, we asked what the heck is going on, because everybody, like almost every person that lived in the town at the time was out. They was all outside. There was cops everywhere. And this is Jamestown, Ohio. If you guys want to look it up, you can. It's a really small town. And if you guys want to look it up, it's called Jamestown, Ohio. And that's the little town that I lived in back in 2000 and 2001 and all that. And it's a really small town. So there's actually a store there. It used to be called Daddy's Supermarket, but they changed the name of it, I think. I can't remember what they changed it to. But if you Google it now, and if you look right beside the store, you'll see a bunch of storage units. My house that I used to live in used to be all the way up at the top towards the road. And it used to sit right there. It was a 2-story house. And we had all that land as a backyard. So you can imagine why we stayed outside all day, because we had so much land to play in. And we would always go and hang out with all the kids that would come over and play around and shit. We had weeds in the background that led to a bike path. We would always go out there with machetes and shit and chop down the weeds and trees. And my brothers at the time used to go to the store and steal like mulch, and they would sprinkle it all over the ground. And then we had like a little fort, and everybody would come over. But at that time on 9/11, we went in the house, and we asked what was going on. And my mom said that there was a terrorist attack. And when you're that young, you don't know what the hell that shit is. So we didn't know what was going on. We're like, what the heck is that? And she says somebody is bombing the world. And we knew what that meant. So as soon as we heard that, we're like, are we going to die? Are we going to die? Like, you know, that's what kids say and shit. And my mom was all freaking out. She's like, I don't know, I think so. And we all got in the car and we just left. I can't remember where we went, but we was a couple of hours away from home. I think my mom was just packing us up just to get us out of everywhere, because the town, like I said, the town that we lived in, it was so fucking, like, everybody was out. Everybody was running around, screaming, crying. I remember there was a bunch of cops everywhere. The store that used to be called Daddy's Supermarket or Valley or whatever, something like that, before they changed the name of it, that whole parking lot was full of people and cops. Like, I thought it was gonna be like a riot, but it was just crazy to see something like that on the news, and then to go outside and see your whole town looking like it's gonna fall apart. That was just one of the craziest experiences I've ever had. And to see that shit on the news and be able to talk about it years later and explain like what I seen and what I heard on TV and out in my town, and be able to tell people about it, that's just crazy. But yeah, that was probably one of the craziest days that I've ever experienced. That is just a really sad day. So anyways, that is all that I have for this video. I know it's not really one of my normal videos. I just wanted to share with you guys what I seen, what I heard, and what we went through on September 11th, 2001. So anyways, that is all that I have for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.